Hello everybody and welcome back to Sundays in the Garden. It is the 23rd of July 2017 and today we're just going to be taking a look at just a couple sections of the garden, because honestly I've been going through my analytics and it's come to my attention that most of you are only watching about 5 to 6 minutes anyway. So we're going to start with a few of the fruiting things around here that seem to be producing, and then I figure we'll move on to some of the more spectacular of the peppers. Here's some fun. Our little red currant bush that we picked up Walmart end of the season, discounted down to $4. I think we picked that up like 3 years ago. Is not only growing incredibly well for me this year, it has produced some fruit, some delicious little red currants in there. Those will be gone before I go inside today. Not $4 worth, but certainly enough to make me happy. Fantastic. And there will be many, many, many more years of production out of this plant. I'm still convinced it's a good investment. And if we want to talk about solid investments in the garden, 98 cents each for these little pineberry plants. I've got a sucker that's rooted right there already, so there's an extra for free. I've got a sucker that's rooted over here already, and as you can see, there are plenty of little berries on here and plenty more flowers to follow up a little later in the season. So that is wonderful. I love fruit that produces all season long. Indeterminate varieties, I guess it would be, as compared to determinate varieties that produce all at once. Same for my peppers, same for my tomatoes. I just like long season stuff. Now this grape here, not quite as happy. Not sure what's going on with the leaves there. $10 discount grape. We'll see how it does. And then in the world of fruit bushes, but not necessarily with any fruit on it, we have the black lace elderberry. Seems to be growing back quite nicely for me this year. Love the color of the freshly established leaves on this. Very funky sort of purple, with of course bright green for brand new growth. And the one from inside that I brought out and have been torturing so I can get used to real Manitoba living. It's got some fresh shoots coming up at the bottom there too, so I think it's going to get pulled out and planted down, probably off to the side here. Create a little bit more shade for that rainwater tote, whatever. And then finally, before we start looking at peppers, let's take a look at these goji berries. Some of you may recall that I noticed one seems to have no thorns or any real side branches on it at all, and as we can see, that is maintained. It stayed the same even since I planted it in there, whereas the other seems to have a little bit more attitude, and it's got these rather sizable spikes on it. I made the assumption that therefore one was male and one was female. Seems I was absolutely correct about that, because we track to the end of this thing here, out in the sunshine, we have a nice, bad time for the wind, a nice bright purple flower on here. There have been a few of them, but only on the one with the spikes. So if you're going to get multiple goji berry bushes, I recommend making sure they have the spikes on them. Maybe get one or two that don't, because I'm guessing it is a male-female thing. Although where the pollen could possibly come from on that, I have no idea. But no flowers on the one without the spikes, flowers on the one with the spikes. Seems like that's the way to go to me. Look at all this new growth this year. All of this stuff standing straight up is since we've planted it into the ground. These things are going to be huge. And then let's take a look at some of the individual peppers in amongst all of this garden here. Got kind of an interesting story about that large pepper patch there. We'll get to that when we do though. Start over here. So keeping the rhubarb company this season in our new little split log bed, we've got the two ahi penic peppers, we've got the shishito, and we have the antohi sweet pepper. This was looking like a fishing lure last time we took a look at it, but as we can see, nice bright red. So I'd say coming up in the next week there will probably be a tasting on that. Look for that on the Bear in the Kitchen channel. I think that's where I'll be putting those from now on, since it is an eating and cooking type thing. Seems more appropriate there than here. But yeah, it's finally got some color on it. It's a nice looking little pepper. I wouldn't say it's huge, But it was also the first one on the plant, started when it was still in the cup, so it might be a little on the miniature side for standard peppers. Nice to see that rhubarb coming back though. So here's a look at the billy goat that's planted out in the actual garden. I'm very pleased with the shape this plant is taking. It's got a nice broad canopy on it, should leave lots of room for everything to get even sunshine and hopefully ripen up the fruit. There are a lot of little flower buds on here, but so far I've only found just the one little pepper. And little is exactly the word for it. So we'll see if that gets any bigger. Little peppers are a bit of a pain to dry, but still quite tasty. Looking beside it at the Sugar Rush cream here, looks like there are quite a few actual pepper starts in there. I didn't even notice the flower stage on that. But those look like the beginnings of peppers to me. That will be wonderful. These are supposedly a very tasty pepper. So I'm looking forward to trying that. Oh yes, the funny story about the large patch. As you can see, there are still some feathers kicking around in this pepper patch. And it was yesterday, came over and I was looking at the peppers and I noticed the sign here had been completely covered up with all the mulch. So I got to digging around and discovered there was a baby goose that had been neatly buried underneath all of my mulch. And otherwise you couldn't even tell the thing was there. The only reason I found it is because that was covered up. So I went poking around making sure there was nothing else cached in my garden. But I may have to come up with another form of mulch, because I don't necessarily want the foxes storing their dead stuff in here till they're ready to eat it. But at the same time, this pepper doesn't seem to be suffering. We've got a nice looking one there. These guys are a little on the short and stunted side, but we'll give it some time. The Cajun Bell, looking forward to trying that. Here we've got the Hungarian hot wax pepper. I think there'll be a tasting of this coming up shortly as well. I think this is supposed to be a yellow pepper, so I'll take the larger one, leave the smaller one, see if it takes any color. Who knows, those banana peppers eventually went red for me. So we'll see what comes of all that. But nice to get some production, at least, even if it is from peppers that I purchased, as compared to the ones that I planted from seed. But speaking of, let's move one to the right here. This is another one of those yellow ghosts, Bahuchaloka yellow, whatever you want to call it. And much like the one out front that we'll take a look at in a minute, and that's probably going to be our final pepper for the day. This one, that's a nice productive pepper. There are lots and lots of flowers on here. I'm very excited and a little terrified. It's going to be some good numbers on these. I definitely want to make sure I have at least one ghost pepper going long term in the dungeon. And yeah, hopefully growing to look like that sand dollar. Did you guys check out that video update? That thing is huge. Gotta find a measuring tape and check that out for actual size, but very nice looking pepper up there. So let's go check out the container yellow ghost out front and we'll call it a day. So here we've got the container peppers out front, and if we focus in on the other yellow ghost that I've got going, we can easily see some big numbers of little flowers. This thing is loaded for bear. Seems to be loving life in the front yard. And yeah, is an incredibly productive pepper. You don't generally see these kind of numbers. Well, I don't generally see these kind of numbers on my peppers. The exception to that might be the red tie pepper, bird's eye pepper. That thing is incredibly productive. And yeah, these little billy goat peppers, this is another one beside it here, also seem to be incredibly productive. But if they're a tiny pepper, I just don't know if I'm going to take the time to grow that out and keep it. Ghost peppers. Now, that seems a little more worth the effort. So I guess that's where we're going to wrap up video number of 11 in the 30 and 30 thing. And yeah, the Sunday update for the 23rd of July, 2017. Thank you all for joining me. And yeah, if you want to see what else we're getting up to, looks like the little woman and I might be heading out to drown some worms, possibly toss some lures this afternoon. If we do that, there may be something on the Barefoot Outdoor channel you want to check out. Just made a zucchini loaf last night that was absolutely amazing. That's up on the kitchen channel if you want to check that out. And yeah, otherwise, feel free to float around all the channels. Bound to be something you haven't seen there. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of the world around you, and I will see you in the next video.